Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the virtual open evening and the A-Level Geography Department here at Long Road. My name's Doug Levine. I'm one of the 3 geography teachers here at Long Road, and I'm just going to take you through the basics of the course, what A-Level Geography is like, what sort of subject content there is, and how we approach it and why it's important. We've got, I'm just looking down, I've got a student of mine who will also answer some questions later on, just to give you a flavour of what it's like to be a student here at Long Road. Anyway, let's have a think about things. So here we are, out and about, out in the field in normal times. This year, unfortunately, we haven't had a chance to get out and see the real world, but geography is about seeing the real world and thinking about how it got to be like it is and how we can ensure that it is managed sustainably for the future. This is an image here, quite inspiring, up in the Lake District, a very special physical landscape where the students usually spend a week or so, the ones who want to do a residential field trip, trying to really sort of scientifically work out why the Lake District looks like it does and what that means for human habitation as well. So hopefully, if that sort of thing is the sort of thing you're interested in, hopefully that will inspire you to maybe do A-level geography. I think sometimes the issue with geography is a bit like the one on the cartoon. Everything's out there. All the knowledge that you could possibly ever know about geography is out there. You have to Google it and you have to find the information, but it's all out there. And you know, we live in an age where we have too much information, really, and what we need to do as geographers is not do the things that computers do well, which is just storing lots of facts about the world. We have to make judgments, and that's what your A-level geography is all about, working out the significance of things, assessing the importance. There are a set of command words that the exam board use, evaluating why something is like it is or explaining it, and doing things that computers can't do, and making judgments about the world, how it got to be like it is, what the issues are, and therefore how should we manage the world for a better future. And that's what geography is about. And all of that involves making judgments based on evidence, weighing up the evidence, and then deciding on a way forward. I'm sure you've done things like that in your GCSE geography, but the emphasis is really not about flags and countries and general information. It's about using information about the world to think about how we can manage it sustainably now and in the future. Okay, so the exam board we use is Edexcel, and there are 4 main areas of study in the Edexcel exam board, and there is also coursework. So the first area of study, dynamic landscapes. This is your physical geography, it's your pure physical geography, and we start off with things that you're probably very familiar with from GCSE. Earthquakes and volcanoes, why they happen, how they're managed, why some places suffer much more than others, even if maybe the earthquakes are the same magnitude or size. You know, why, for instance, do many more people die in one area than in another area? So that's just really a development of things you're quite familiar with, probably from your GCSE work. I think the landscape systems work, which is all about glaciers, the great ice sheets that sculpt spectacular landscapes like the Lake District. That's something you've probably not spent much time on at all at GCSE. You may have had a week of glaciation work, But for most of you, you were probably focusing on coasts. We chose not to do coasts because we think you've done quite a lot of coasts, and we want to introduce you to a whole new way of creating spectacular landscapes through glaciation. So that's probably a change from your GCSE. So area of study 1, all about physical geography. And if area of study 1 was physical geography, of course, area of study 2 is going to be human geography. So we start off by looking at the shrinking and linking of the world, how the world has become so much more interconnected, and what that means for managing everything from resources to inequalities in the world. So globalization, again, a topic that you've probably touched on at GCSE, but we'll spend several weeks looking at globalization and what it means for the modern world. Really, to my mind, globalization is, one of the big stories of mine and yours generation. Probably that and climate change, they are the two big stories ticking along always in the background of our lives, and really shaping what our lives are like. The second topic area is, again, something you're probably quite familiar with: regeneration, regenerating places, and rebranding. And I know some of you have been down to the Olympic site, for instance, in London, looked at the regeneration and rebranding there. Yeah, it's that sort of geography, and we're sort of adding a bit of depth, but nothing too new, I don't think, in that particular area. The third area of study is really looking at the physical geography again, but really looking at it with a view to sustainability, as looking at the Earth life support systems. So without clean water, we don't have a future. Without a properly managed carbon cycle and energy security, we don't have a secure future. And if we get climate change wrong, well, it doesn't bear thinking about. Well, in fact, we'll have to think about it, and we'll have to manage it accordingly. And that's what you'll be considering and thinking about during your A-level geography studies. And again, we've got a big bit of news this week, haven't we? Boris Johnson's talking about a green future, banning petrol cars and diesel cars from 2030. Is that enough? Is that a good idea? Are there alternatives? We can consider all those sorts of things when you start here in college as well. So that's area of study 3. The fourth area of study is something that won't make too much sense until you've done a year's worth of geography at A-level, but it's looking at some very interesting bits of human geography, the change of power in the world. It's called superpowers. Again, why, an explanation of why power and wealth is moving from the West, from Europe and North America, and how it's moving through Asia towards countries such as China. And we look at that in some great depth. And we also look at how things like the changes in power and how things like globalization are changing the nature of countries, and how much countries can control their own identity and sovereignty. Sovereignty just means how much control we have over our own borders. I think you probably remember from all of the Brexit talk that we had before COVID, there were slogans like "Take Back Control," and that was a slogan all about trying to create a bit more sovereignty for the UK. And so we look at those sorts of issues as well. But as I say, probably not for you to worry about too much at this stage, because you need a year's worth of A-level geography under your belt before you can really tackle these more sort of complex human geography issues. So to the trips. Well, we for years have offered either a week's field work or day trips, depending on what students want to do. And usually it's 50-50. Half of the students want to go away, half want just to go on the day trips, and that's fine. To complete the qualification, you need to do at least 4 days field work. That has to be checked off by the exam board. The only exception actually was this year, because of the pandemic, the government has relaxed the requirement to do 4 days field work this year. I assume by the time you're back with us, hopefully with good vaccines and things, we will be able to do at least day trips, but who knows about the field trips and what the situation will be there. But that's a case of we'll wait and see, and that's what the situation is at the moment. It's not in our hands, unfortunately. Okay, just a few ideas on how you might be examined and how your assessment works. It's fairly straightforward. There are 3 papers. Each of them is 2¼ hours long, so longer than the average GCSE paper. You will be expected to write in quite a bit of detail about things. The explain questions are worth 8 marks. The assess questions are worth 12 marks. The evaluate questions are worth up to 24 marks, and you've got lots of them. So you have to write fairly well. That's why we've put a 5 in English as the minimum requirement for doing geography, because you need the writing skills to be able to write at depth. We'll obviously teach you how to develop those skills further, but you do need those basic skills of at least a 5 in your English before you come here and do geography. So 80% is in the 3 exam papers: a physical geography exam paper, a human geography exam paper, and a paper that pulls everything together around a set of resources, tests how well you link your knowledge together. And towards the end of the second year, you get lots of practice of what we call synopticity, pulling things together like that. And the final 20% is your coursework. It's an independent investigation. You learn lots of skills on the field trips, and then you develop your own piece of field work. And if you're on a residential, you spend the last day collecting your data. If you're not, you spend a day independently collecting your data and write up some coursework. And again, it theoretically can be on anything that's on the specification. But if you think about it, we can't really do volcanoes and earthquakes in Cambridgeshire, so there are some limitations as well. Speakers and events, well, that's another thing that got stopped halfway through the year, of course, with COVID, but normally we'll have visiting speakers, and you'll have the opportunity to attend events such as the Cambridge Geographical Association. They have lectures. Cambridge University had a Festival of Science, which you can get free tickets for. And in fact, last year, the Cambridge University Geographical Society actually invited some of our students to some of their extra lectures, which I thought were really interesting. Visiting speakers, Christine Batchelor has spent her time mapping the seafloor of Antarctica. Really fascinating talk. This is from last year, because, as I say, we haven't been able to do anything this year. We've got a former student, a town planner, who comes in from East Cambs District Council, the planning authority, and talks about sort of careers in town planning and what a town planner does, as lots of geographers end up going into that sort of area as well. And speaking of which, the sorts of jobs that you might go into after A-level, obviously there are apprenticeships. Your geography, you learn a whole range of what we call transferable skills. That would be very good if you're applying for an apprenticeship, even if it didn't have an awful lot to do with geography. The skills you've learnt in geography would still hold you in good stead. But in terms of geography, apart from just normal human and physical geography degrees. There are sort of water managers, people working for the Environment Agency, for instance, managing water, building up flood plans and catchment plans for rivers. There are town planners who again decide on the sort of shape and sustainability of towns, cities, rural areas. Environmental science is a big growth area which grew out of geography and biology, and the two subjects sort of joined together with a common theme of sustainability. Again, very popular subject for students to sort of go into after their geography. And even things, I think we're down in Southampton here in this bottom left hand corner. This is the oceanography department, I think. So again, the study of the oceans. We were very slow understanding how important the oceans are on Earth, and now we're rapidly understanding their significance. Just a couple of final slides before we have a chat with Harry, who's the student that's going to sort of talk through what it's like in college. But just a few final slides, just to give you an idea. Remember, at college you can do the traditional route, which is 3 A levels. So geography would be one of your 3 A levels. There are no geography diplomas, so if you're just doing diplomas, you wouldn't do your geography. What is quite popular though, we have quite a few students who are doing either 1 or 2 diplomas, and they're putting an A-level geography alongside their diploma. So you can mix and match the qualifications a bit, and that proves very, very popular. But that said, a lot of students are still 1, 2, 3 A levels. That's what they want to do, and that is fine too. A final reminder, everyone, that we have welcome days and open evenings in June, and in June 21, and they they are days that hopefully we will be able to see people in person a bit more, and that's just a date to remember. Okay, I'm going to try and get Harry on the line for you now, and we will ask. He's a second year student who's going to sort of give you some ideas of what it's like to be a geography student here. So if you bear with me for a minute. Oh, I'll put him in the corner. I'll put it up here. Excellent. He's just on his way. Okay, Harry, I think we can see you on the screen now. So thanks for coming in this evening. Could you just give us some ideas about this sort of the school you came from and your sort of subject mix? Just a basic introduction, please.
Yeah, I came from Linton Village College. I study obviously geography, politics, and business, which I think worked very well. I came to college because it was very sort of accessible, and the geography course I liked the look of it. I liked how it sort of involved a lot of things, and yeah, sort of well.
Yeah, so I think I'm in Linton College, LVC. We've got quite a lot of students from LVC, haven't we? In college, but I don't know. I should know this figure, but I would have thought there are probably people from more than 20 schools and colleges in Long Road. So it's quite a diverse range of people. I think if you take a sort of a 40-mile radius in all directions,
it'd be a lot. Yeah.
Then you would be right, and it goes a little bit further where the train lines are good. And where you get to very inaccessible places, it comes in a bit. I'm speaking as a geographer again, aren't I? But again, it affects the pattern a bit. But when you see a map of where our students come from, it really is a 360 degree circle. So it looks to me like, so for instance, you're sort of more human geography in your focus, aren't you, with the subjects that you've chosen?
Yeah, but that's the good thing about a course, you can, I like human, but also you learn a lot about the physical stuff, and you can yeah, if you're good at physical, the course will work for you. If you're good at human, the course will work for you. You know, it's a good mix, and it's just, you know, you learn a lot about both.
Yeah, absolutely, and we've got the other students who are a bit more physically focused, and quite often they tie their geography in with subjects like biology, don't they, or biology and even chemistry if they want to do something like environmental science. So again, there's that whole avenue as well, and
Yeah,
certainly what we've found over the years for subjects like, I don't know, biomedical science, for instance, they quite often ask for a third science subject, and they will quite often take geography as a third science subject when you're
yeah,
applying for
it's
something like biomedical
environmental
science.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's again something to consider. So I suppose the big question, COVID time, is, you know, what's all of this sort of funny blended learning like? How does that all work?
Well, basically, obviously, a week in college with physical lessons, and you get to see your teachers. But then when you're out of college, it's all online, and I mean, it works. I think it works quite well because I mean, obviously, you'd rather be in college all the time, getting, you know, face-to-face learning. But obviously, the online lessons I still find are useful. It doesn't impact as much as you might think it does. It's still helpful, and you get used to it eventually. Obviously, the first few weeks when I came back, it was weird. You know, you get used to going to college, and then suddenly you're having a week. You know, you have to get up too early and stuff like that. So it's kind of like it's a you get used to it, but it's not too bad. And I think it is the way to go. You know, it's not, I think going everyone in would just be a bit unsafe, but the week in week out kind of works.
Yeah, it certainly seems to be working this year, and it did. I think it wasn't just the students. I mean, it took us quite a long time to work out the technology, and now we've got everything sort of Teams based. It means that we can have live lessons when we're not in college, and have a similar experience as possible. And I know that quite a lot of students secretly like not having to get on the bus for a week. I suppose for a lot of people listening, you know, they don't really know much about college. So what's the sort of school uniform and things like that?
Well, there is no uniform. It's you wear what you want. Yeah, there's not much. I don't mean limits really. I mean, you can wear, you know, no real sort of limits on what you can wear. So yeah, no uniform. That's the way it different to a school. Obviously, there are many other differences, but that is one of the main differences. Don't have to really care about what you wear.
Yeah, it's funny actually. We were saying that I think in Harry's class, I was saying to them that they're all dressed quite conventionally actually, but again, yeah, there isn't a school uniform. And we did have another question here: do you call your teachers sir and miss? But I think we know the answer to that because Harry's calling me Doug. No, you'll call your teachers by their first names. It's that next step to adulthood, really, is the idea, isn't it, Harry? I think
Yeah,
you know,
sort of a little less formal, you could say, a little less formal.
yeah, absolutely. And I don't know, I get called Sir Doug for about the first couple of months, and then people get used to it. So, but I quite like that. Oh, the college campus. Can you tell us about the college campus a bit?
Yeah, well, it's it's not a massive site. It's quite sort of, it's easy to find your way. I mean, it took me a week to find out really just where the different rooms are, and it's, you know, accessible. You can get to rooms quite easily. I think there's nothing really to catch you out. It's not. I mean, obviously, the only maybe block that's slightly confusing is M block, but that's a new block in the corner, and I couldn't find that. I think I was 10 minutes late for first politics lesson because I couldn't find it. But it's you will find eventually. There's enough signs around the site and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I think there are staff who don't know where M block is, to be honest.
Yeah, this thing I couldn't find it at all. I literally asked like 3 different people, they just couldn't tell me. But
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, I actually found it.
yeah. Luckily, in geography, we're not hiding away there, but it's okay. And actually, although it's compact, the buildings are sort of fairly nice and compact. We got a huge amount of space around for us, given that we're in a city as well, haven't we?
Yeah, with the field, yeah, that's sort of, it's quite big.
Yeah, I know you were talking to me about the what was it, the Marquee the other day, weren't you?
Yeah, that's obviously a new feature with COVID. So if you want to go study, you have a timetable study room, and that's you'll go in there, you'll get your ID scan, you can work. But then if you sort of want to chill, then there's Marquee, which is where the basketball court used to be, and it's quite big and there's plenty of rooms and there's plenty of seating and stuff, so you can just sit in there. It's not quite as nice as maybe sitting in the old food place, but it's safe. You feel sort of, it's very unlikely you can catch anything in there. It's all very well ventilated, but you're protected from the rain, so it works well.
Yeah, you say it's fairly big. I say it's absolutely massive. When I did my gap year, I spent time putting up marquees just like those ones. I'll never put one up that size. I'm very impressed by the size of the marquee.
Yeah,
so
double the size of the food place.
Yeah, absolutely. So there is space, but it's easy to find your way around. We're certainly with a week on, a week off at the moment. It doesn't feel very crowded at all.
Oh no, always plenty of spare tables
in college. So I suppose we're actually getting really short for time. So I do want to ask you one more question. Sort of what are you thinking of? Well, I'll ask you. One final question. What are you thinking about doing after college?
Well, I hope to go to university and do a degree in geography, which has a mix of human and physical. I haven't quite started which university yet, but I've looked at a few, but I think geography A level has really helped set me up and really extended my knowledge, because I think before I thought I sort of came, I think, do I want to do it after joining university, and do I sort of want to take that path? And actually now A level geography has sort of decided that for me. I thought I really enjoy it, so I thought it's really interested me. It always has, but the actual course has really got me interested. So yeah.
Excellent. Sort of taking is helping you to cement your decision, because lots of people will make all sorts of different decisions according to their interests and passions and things. But it's great to hear that geography at college has had that effect on you, and I'm sure you'll really enjoy your geography degree as well. Okay, Harry, I think we're going to say I'm going to say goodbye to you. I'm going to say goodbye to everyone else as well, and I think we'll end the session there. So thanks for coming, everyone, and thank you, Harry. And
it's all right.
I will see everyone soon. Okay, bye bye.